Best biographies. I absolutely love to listen to people's life stories, their diverse experiences, their own perceptions, set of views, failures, struggles, happiness, and success. And we don't need to go far to hear life stories. From our friends to our family, every life that is lived teaches us something. It can inspire us and make us better human beings. For example, my grandmother worked as a maid in people's houses. She took care of her 8 kids single handedly. The story of her life has taught me about strength, determination, perseverance. There is no point in sitting in a corner and crying about life situations. Fight it head on. My father grew up obviously in poverty. He rose from poverty to give a stable life to his children. Listening to his life and just being around him has inspired me in many, many ways. And sometimes I sit and read my own diaries, which I have been writing forever. It is fun and even at times inspiring to read them now. I have spent my entire childhood in villages and tiny towns in India. Some of the primary schools that I went to didn't even have any walls. Moving from villages to a city was an altogether different story. It can be complicated. One can get teased for their language, accent, pronunciations, lack of understanding of English, to your Bata slippers. And I just love to read my journey of having an inferiority complex to feeling comfortable in my own skin, from going through tragedies in the family to growing up as a person. And so I don't need to tell you that I love to read biographies. There is a charm to biographies, memoirs, and autobiographies. I like to sit in the passenger seat of a person's life as an invisible entity and see for myself what they have been through and to cry with them, laugh along, and learn a lesson or two. Reading about the real life stories of successful and remarkable people often influences, inspires, motivates, and also provides encouragement. But biographies can be a little tricky too, because there are many things about people's lives that one wouldn't care to know about. Like, I don't care to know about who people are sleeping with, unless they are my best friends. And some topics are very boring for me, like kids, dogs, food, to name a few. And biographies can be filled with information that one finds boring. For example, Alexander Hamilton. The book is so huge that I wish that there was a summary at the end with just important points and happenings. Some biographies are data driven, like R.D. Burman, The Man, the Music. It is full of R.D.'s lovely songs, how they were made, the entire history of all of that. But at the end of it, I felt I had not understood R.D. as a person at all, but just his music. But still, this is a great book if you are his music fan. An Appetite for Wonder by Richard Dawkins. I love you, Dawkins, but I'm still going to say this, that this book falls under the same category, completely data driven. Which college he went to and every small detail. In one chapter, he talks about the awesome sportsmen in his college, like Mansoor Ali Khan Patodi, which was irrelevant. There are biographies that have a potential to make a difference, to bring about a change in the world. But the writer gets scared of revealing facts. For example, An Unsuitable Boy by Karan Johar, where he talks about some random things like his fight with Kajol, but never admits the obvious and important things, which is his sexuality, and does not manage to inspire people to feel comfortable in their own skin. There are biographies that inspire you. For example, It's Not About the Bike by Lance Armstrong, who is a world famous cyclist. He has shared his journey through triumph, tragedy, transformation, and transcendence. And then one day you find out in the news that the life story that you read in the book was a lie, and he was consuming drugs to win. Some autobiographies toot their own horn, speaking of their own greatness to a point that it gets unrealistic. For example, Losing My Virginity by Richard Branson. It is an advertisement of virgin products and the greatness of the author. Some people have a very strong presence in social media and generally in media. They are written about so much that there is nothing new that you can find in their biography. For example, Unfinished by Priyanka Chopra. So here is a list and a quick introduction of my 11 favorite biographies which managed to pass my tough criteria, and they were able to teach me, motivate me, and inspire me in some way. When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. What makes life worth living in the face of death? What does it mean to have a child, to nurture a new life as another fades away? These are some of the questions Kalanithi wrestles with in this profoundly moving memoir. The Diary of a Young Girl. Some people say, oh, the book is tiresome and boring. I mean, Anne was in hiding for her life in the same house for 2 years without even opening the window. She was not solving murder mystery, so what do you expect to read? I was just taken by Anne's wish to see the outside world again, feel the fresh wind, and to go to school. But anyway, discovered in the attic in which Anne Frank spent the last years of her life, her remarkable diary has become a world classic, a powerful reminder of the horrors of Holocaust and a testament to the human spirit. Gandhi, an autobiography. My oldest brother gifted me this book on my 18th birthday, and I was extremely mad at him for giving me a book on my birthday. I told him some useful gifts would have been clothes or like a makeup kit, but I was wrong. The impact that books make in one's life is lifelong. Gandhi doesn't need any introduction. The whole world knows about him, as he is one of the most inspiring figures of our time. In his autobiography, he recounts the story of his life and how he developed his concept of active nonviolent resistance, which propelled the Indian struggle for independence and countless other nonviolent struggles of the 20th century. Not without my daughter. Betty found herself and her 4-year-old daughter virtual prisoners of a man rededicated to his Shiite Muslim faith, in a land where women are near slaves and Americans are despised. Their only hope for escape lay in a dangerous underground that would not take her child. Betty endured violent abuse from her husband, isolation, and horrible culture shock. All the while, she never stopped planning and plotting. This autobiography will make your soul weep. A loss for words. A deeply moving, often humorous and beautiful account of what it means to be the hearing child of profoundly deaf parents. It is an outstanding book by Luann Walker. The Story of My Life by Helen Keller. Having lost her sight and her hearing at a very young age, Helen was most likely destined to a life full of isolation, frustration, and perhaps hopelessness. However, Helen's life changed forever as she embarked on a journey of learning despite all odds. What I loved most about Helen's narrative was her positive outlook, her generosity towards others, and her love of nature and literature. There is a movie based on this book called Black. I loved it immensely. Becoming. I find Michelle Obama one of the most iconic and compelling women of her era. Warm, wise, and revelatory, Becoming is the deeply personal reckoning of a woman of soul and substance who has steadily defied expectations and whose story inspires us to do the same. Steve Jobs. There are 3 things necessary for a great biography: a compelling subject, an engaging narrative, and accuracy. And Walter Issacson's biographies always have all 3. I use iPhone, iPad, AirPods, Kindle, iPod, Mac, iMovie, and I love Pixar movies. It was inevitable that I read about Steve Jobs. He revolutionized technological and entertainment industries by successfully blending technology and arts, giving consumers products they didn't even know they wanted. I highly recommend this book even if you do not like or use Apple products. Einstein, His Life and Universe. The most famous and intelligent man who lived on Earth. Who wouldn't want to read about this genius mind? The book gives us a wonderful glimpse into how this man's amazing mind led to some of the most incredible scientific discoveries in history. Goes without saying that this is a must-read book. Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for a Fantastic Future by Ashlee Vance. I have a huge crush on Elon Musk, and more so after reading this book. He has a supremely genius and visionary mind. He is the innovator behind SpaceX, Tesla, and SolarCity. He sold one of his internet companies, PayPal, for $1.5 billion. Musk is an amalgam of legendary inventors and industrialists. He has dedicated his energies and his own vast fortune to inventing a future that is as rich and far-reaching as the visionaries of the golden age of science fiction fantasy. This is again a must-read book. The Man Who Knew Infinity. Ramanujan is considered one of the best mathematicians of all times, in the same league as Euler. Even though his work is well known within the mathematical community, outside of it, he is virtually an unknown entity. Ramanujan was born in a poor Tamil family and had little access to formal education. He had an unnatural flair for mathematics and nothing else. After a life spent in poverty and struggle, with no one in India capable of even understanding his work, Ramanujan got the recognition he deserved when his papers reached the British mathematician Hardy. Ramanujan passed away at the age of 32. As they say, do you want to live longer or bigger? In that sense, Ramanujan lived a grand life. I highly recommend that you read this romantically tragic but brilliant life of Ramanujan. I hope you like these recommendations. Happy reading.